The rain came down on Itaewon like it was trying to wash something dirty off the street. And on a night like this, it usually was. Park Min-jun moved through the alley without a sound, his black coat soaking through at the shoulders, his face unreadable beneath the pale glow of a flickering sign overhead. Behind him, 4 of his men fanned out in silence. They had done this before. They knew how to follow a man who didn't need to say a word. The tip had come in 3 hours ago. A shipping container near the old garment district. 17 people inside. Men, women, children. Cargo for buyers who didn't ask questions. The kind of trade that even Min-jun's world considered beneath contempt. He had not hesitated. When the container door swung open, the smell hit first. Sweat and fear and something rotten. His men moved in fast. There was shouting, then the dull sound of bodies hitting concrete, then silence. Min-jun stepped inside and let his eyes adjust to the dark. He counted 16 people huddled against the walls, mostly adults. Then, in the far corner, curled against each other like they were trying to disappear into one body, 2 children, a girl, a boy, neither older than 10. Min-jun crouched down slowly, the way you would approach something wild that had been hurt badly enough to forget what kindness looked like. The girl's arm came up immediately, putting herself in front of her brother. Her eyes were enormous and furious and terrified all at once. "Don't touch him," she said in Korean, her voice shaking, but her jaw set hard. Min-jun looked at her for a long moment. Then he removed his coat and held it out, not toward the girl, but toward the shivering boy behind her. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said quietly. He had told that to people before, and not meant it. He meant it now. He brought them to a private clinic, one his organization kept off the books. A doctor he trusted cleaned the boy's wounds, a deep gash along his ribs, already beginning to show infection, while the girl sat rigid in a chair across the room, watching every person who moved near her brother with those dark, calculating eyes. Min-jun stood in the doorway. He had men to debrief, reports to file, an entire criminal infrastructure that had run itself on his attention for 15 years. None of it felt urgent. He watched the girl instead. She was Afro-Korean. He could see it clearly now under the clinic lights. High cheekbones, deep brown skin, dark eyes with a slight upturn at the corners that reminded him of something he couldn't quite place. The boy was the same. 2 faces that looked like they belonged to 2 different worlds and had decided to make a third one. When the doctor finally finished and stepped back, Min-jun moved into the room. The girl tracked him immediately. "What are your names?" he asked. "Why?" she said. "Because I'd rather not keep calling you the children in my head." A pause. "Yuna," she said. "He's Jay." Min-jun nodded. He pulled a chair over and sat down a few feet from the bed where Jay was sleeping now, his small chest rising and falling steadily. "How long were you in that container?" 4 days. "Before that?" Yuna's eyes dropped to her hands. "The street. A few months." "Parents?" The silence that followed that single word told him everything. He didn't press. The doctor appeared at his elbow and spoke quietly. "Sir, when we were cleaning the boy's shoulder, there's something you should see." Min-jun followed him to a side table where the doctor had photographed something on his phone. He held the screen up. It showed the boy's upper left shoulder, and on it, a birthmark. Small, precise, impossible. A phoenix in mid-flight, its wings slightly curled, rendered in deep reddish-brown against the boy's skin, like something branded there by intention rather than biology. Min-jun's mouth went dry. He turned back to Yuna. His voice, when he found it, was carefully controlled. "Your brother's birthmark. Does he know what it looks like?" Yuna blinked. "He's had it since he was born. We both have." She pulled down the collar of her shirt slightly, exposing her own left shoulder. Identical. The same phoenix. The same wing curl. The same placement. Min-jun had the same mark on his own shoulder. So had his father. So had his grandfather. So had every firstborn son of the Park bloodline for 3 generations. He sat down very slowly, like a man whose bones had just stopped working. He didn't sleep that night. He sat in his office on the 4th floor of a building he owned under 3 different names, and he spread out everything he knew about his younger brother like evidence at a crime scene. Park Soo-jin, 8 years younger than Min-jun. The soft one. The one who had gone to university abroad because their father said it would make him useful, not because anyone believed he would ever be cut out for the family business. The brother who called on birthdays, who sent photos of cherry blossoms, who apologized for everything even when nothing was his fault. The brother who had called Min-jun 11 years ago with a trembling voice and said, "Hyung, I met someone. I want to marry her." Min-jun closed his eyes. He had not handled that well. The woman's name had been Adaeze Okonkwo, a Nigerian medical student completing her residency in Seoul. She was brilliant, Seo-jin had said. She was kind. She made him laugh in a way he hadn't in years. He had said all of this with the desperate energy of someone who already knew the answer he was going to get. Their father had refused. Their mother had refused. Min-jun, who had spent his life enforcing the family's will because he believed in it, because he had built something out of it, because it was the only language he knew, had refused. Seo-jin had gone quiet after that. Min-jun had taken the quiet as compliance. He had been wrong. If these children existed, Seo-jin had married her anyway, in secret, which meant, somewhere in the years between that phone call and now, two people had loved each other quietly, had built something small and real, had made a family, and then they had vanished. Min-jun had been told at the time that Seo-jin had gone abroad again, that he had cut contact by choice. He had believed that too, because it was easier than the alternative, and because he was a man who had built his entire life on not asking questions that might cost him something. He picked up the phone and called the one person in his organization who never lied to him. "Sung-ho," he said, "I need you to find out what happened to my brother. If you're already gripped by this story, hit that subscribe button right now, because this is the kind of channel that doesn't let you go easy." Sung-ho Kim had worked for Min-jun for 12 years. He was not a violent man by nature. He was a meticulous one, which in their world was far more dangerous. He could find a thread in a pile of nothing and pull until a whole tapestry unraveled. It took him 9 days. On the 10th morning, he appeared in Min-jun's office and set a folder on the desk without a word. Min-jun opened it. He read it slowly. Then he closed it and sat very still for a long time. The silence in the room became its own kind of weight. "Who gave the order?" Min-jun said. It wasn't a question. Sung-ho didn't answer. He was looking at the floor. "Sung-ho, Director O, sir." A pause. 11 years ago, he said it came from your father." Min-jun stood up and walked to the window. Below, the city moved the way it always did, loud and indifferent and alive. He pressed his fingertips against the glass. Director Oh Kyung-soo, the man who had sat at Min-jun's right hand for a decade, the man who had helped him build the organization to what it was now, the man who had attended every meeting, shared every strategy, smiled at every dinner, while carrying this. In the folder was a chain of events assembled with Sung-hae's careful precision. Seo-jin and Adaeze had married in a small ceremony in Busan. 11 years ago. A week later, they had received a visit from two men no one could now identify. Their apartment was found empty. Their car was found near Incheon. There was no investigation, because someone with enough influence had ensured there wasn't one. Adaeze had been 3 months pregnant at the time, which meant the pregnancy had continued, which meant she had survived long enough to have 2 children. Children now sitting in a clinic on the other side of the city, with Phoenix birthmarks on their shoulders, and no memory of a mother who had loved their father enough to keep going, even when everything was burning. Min-jun pressed his forehead against the cold glass. He had built this empire. He had fed it and protected it and justified it in 100 different ways over 100 different nights. He had told himself it was about loyalty, about order, about protecting the people inside it. He had never asked what it had protected itself from. He had never looked at what it had consumed on the way. His brother's face came back to him. That last phone call. Seo-jin's voice full of a happiness that Min-jun had treated like a problem to be solved. He had not even asked what she was like. He had not given his brother one single moment of grace. And the organization he had spent his life building had taken everything from Seo-jin in return. He went to see Yuna that afternoon. She was sitting cross-legged on the clinic bed beside her sleeping brother, a book open in her lap that Min-jun suspected she hadn't been reading. She looked up when he came in and did not speak. She had learned, in the short time since the container, to wait him out, to see what he brought before deciding what to give back. He sat down across from her. "Your mother," he said. "What do you remember about her?" Something shifted behind Yuna's eyes. It wasn't grief. It was more careful than grief. It was the expression of someone who had stored a thing very carefully for a long time and wasn't sure yet whether this room was safe enough to take it out. "She was a doctor," Yuna said finally. "Or she was going to be. She told me that. She said she was almost finished when everything changed." A pause. "She used to sing to us in a language I didn't understand. Igbo, she called it. She said it was the language her mother sang to her." Min-jun nodded slowly. "She had a name for us that wasn't Korean," Yuna continued, watching his face now. "For Jay, she said, Chisum. She said it meant, God is with me." Her voice had dropped very low. "She died when I was 6. And your father? Before that?" "I don't remember him at all." Min-jun looked at this girl. 10 years old, 4 days in a container, a lifetime of carrying her brother through things a child should never have seen, and felt something in his chest that he hadn't felt in 15 years. It was not guilt exactly. It was older than guilt. It was the specific pain of recognizing yourself as the cause of something you cannot undo. "What was his name?" he asked. "Your father?" Yuna tilted her head slightly. "Seo-jin," she said. "Park Seo-jin." "Why?" Min-jun didn't answer right away. "Because," he said, "he was my younger brother." The room went absolutely still. Yuna stared at him. He watched her process it, the calculation running behind those sharp, careful eyes, testing it for the trap, finding none. Her lip pressed together. Her chin lifted in a way that reminded him so precisely of Seo-jin at that age that it physically hurt. "Then why didn't you find us?" she asked. He didn't flinch from it. "Because I wasn't looking," he said. "And that is the thing I'll spend the rest of my life answering for." He gave them the clinic apartment. He hired 2 people, a woman who had left his organization years ago on good terms, and a retired teacher, to look after them while he worked. He told no one else inside the organization that the children existed, because what came next was going to be dangerous, and the last thing he could afford was for anyone loyal to Director O to know they had leverage over him. Min-jun had spent 15 years building a machine. He understood every moving part of it, which meant he understood exactly how to dismantle it. He began quietly, the way a surgeon works: precise cuts, no wasted motion, minimal blood, records transferred, accounts redirected, informants turned over to prosecutors he had dirt on, dirt that he now offered as a kind of ransom, your freedom for your testimony. He did it piece by piece over 4 months. He slept 3 hours a night. He ate when Sung-ho put food in front of him. He told himself it was strategy, not emotion, which was the only way he knew how to do anything. He called Yuna once a week. She picked up every time. She never asked how it was going. She was 10 years old and already wise enough to know that some things needed to finish before they could be explained. Instead, she told him about her day, about the books she was reading, about something Jay had said at dinner that made her laugh, about the retired teacher who kept accidentally calling her Yuna C in the formal register, like she was a colleague. Min-jun sat in whatever car or office or hospital waiting room he happened to be in and listened to every word. It was, he realized, the best part of his week. Drop a comment right now. Do you think Min-jun deserves to be forgiven? I need to see what you think before we get to the ending. He confronted Director O on a Tuesday evening in the man's own home. Oh Kyung-soo was 63 years old and had spent 40 of those years inside organizations exactly like this one. He was not easily rattled. When Min-jun appeared in his living room unannounced, the old man set down his tea and looked at him with the expression of someone who had been waiting for this and had decided on his posture long ago. "You know why I'm here," Min-jun said. "I suspected this day would come," Oh said. "After you brought those children in." He paused. "They have the mark, don't they? Answer my question." Oh Kyung-soo folded his hands in his lap. Your father asked me to resolve the situation. He said your brother's marriage was a liability, that the woman was a problem. He said it the way you'd describe a business decision, evenly, without heat. I resolved it. You killed them. I removed a threat to this family. Min-jun stood very still. He had rehearsed this moment in his head many times over the past 4 months, and he had always imagined himself colder than he felt right now. He had imagined control. What he felt instead was the simple, devastating weight of 2 children who had grown up on the street because the men in this room had decided their parents' love was inconvenient. My brother called me, Min-jun said slowly. The night he told me about Adadze, he was happy. I don't think I had heard him happy like that in years. He looked at Oh Kyung-soo. I told him no, and I thought that was the end of it. I thought I'd handled it. And all that time, the thing that actually happened to him, I never even asked. You were protecting the family. I was protecting a fiction. The words came out quiet and final. And I used 11 years of Yuna and Jae's lives to do it. Oh started to speak again. Min-jun held up one hand. The prosecutors already have everything, he said. Every account, every record, every name. They'll be here in the morning. He picked up his coat from the chair. I came tonight so you'd hear it from me first, so you'd have the night to think about what my brother's face looked like when he believed in people. He left the old man in his living room and didn't look back. The prosecutors arrived the next morning, as promised. Min-jun was already at the precinct when they got there. He had surrendered himself at 6 a.m., dressed in a plain gray shirt with no tie, his phone already turned off. He had one request, which he made calmly and which was granted, that the charges against the members of his organization who had no knowledge of Seo-jin's death be taken into account individually, that no one be swept up simply because they had stood in his shadow. It was the last order he ever gave. He saw Yuna and Jae once more before sentencing. Through the reinforced glass of a visitation room, Jae pressed his small hand flat against the glass on his side. Min-jun put his palm against it on his own side and felt the cold between them like a fact. Yuna looked at him for a long time without speaking. Then she said, "We're going to be okay." "I know," he said. "Are you?" He almost smiled. The question, that specific, serious, 10-year-old question, was the most Seo-jin thing he had ever heard. "I will be," he said. Eventually, he was sentenced to 11 years. He served 8. He was 54 years old when he walked out of Cheonan prison on a Thursday morning with a canvas bag and a coat that no longer fit the same way. There were no cameras, no one waiting. The organization he had built was gone, dispersed, prosecuted, absorbed into other things, or simply ended, the way most powerful things end, quietly, when no one is looking. He took a bus. It was the first time in 20 years he had taken a bus. He had one address written on a folded piece of paper, given to him by Sung-ho, who was the only person who had visited him consistently over 8 years, and who had, during that time, become something closer to a brother than an employee. The address led him to a university campus in western Seoul, open and green in the thin spring light. He found a bench near the back of the outdoor graduation ceremony already in progress. He was early. He sat and waited, his canvas bag between his feet, his hands folded in his lap, looking like any ordinary middle-aged man who had simply run out of places to be. He was not ordinary, but he was, for the first time in a very long time, at peace with what he was. He saw Jae first, tall now, broader in the shoulders than Min-jun had expected, wearing his graduation gown slightly crooked, the way Seo-jin used to wear his school blazer. He was laughing at something the person beside him had said. The laugh was bright and open and completely without armor. And then Yuna, she crossed the stage with that same jaw-set stillness she had worn in the container, but softer now, alive with something behind it. When she received her diploma, she paused for 1 second and looked out at the crowd, not searching for anyone in particular, just looking, the way someone looks when they are memorizing a moment. Min-jun did not call out. He did not wave. He sat very still on his bench at the back of everything and watched his brother's children live the life that Seo-jin had wanted to give them, and he felt it complete something inside him that he had not known was open. He was forgotten here. He was unknown. He was a man on a bench with a canvas bag, unremarkable, past his power, stripped of everything he had spent his life accumulating. It was the first time he had ever felt clean. He stayed until the ceremony ended. He watched Jae and Yuna find each other in the crowd and embrace, the way people do when they have held each other up through something long. Then he picked up his bag and walked back to the bus stop. He did not introduce himself. He did not need to. They knew the whole story. Sung-ho had made sure of that, gradually, over the years, in careful portions that a child could carry. They knew who he was, and what he had done, and what he had destroyed to try to make it right. Whether they would ever want to know him, that was a question that belonged to them. He would not take that from them the way everything else had been taken. He would simply be alive, somewhere within reach, if the day ever came. That was enough. That would have to be enough. And standing there at the bus stop, an ordinary man in an ill-fitting coat, watching the city move around him the way it always had, loud and indifferent and alive, Park Min-jun decided, for the first time in 54 years, that it genuinely was. If this story reached something in you, give it a like. It helps more people find stories like this one. And if you believe some people deserve a second chance, even after everything, tell me in the comments. I want to read every single one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the moment. Every week, stories like this one, real emotion, real stakes, nothing wasted. Hit subscribe and come back. We're just getting started.